Thank you, Doc, for the thumbnail. Hello, guys. Fearmaky here once again. This time around, we're bringing you the Shockadin Season 11 meta build. And oh my god, there is so many options. It's going to blow your mind. On the process of making this video, I've already tested the Paladin probably the most out of any class in herosiege in this season. Okay, especially the hammers because they were underperforming extremely, at the first week of the season. So, a big shout out and thanks to Wooksy for testing it again himself and taking the feedback and, making the hammers relevant, especially when they put so much work into it. But anyways, this is about Shockadin, not Hammerdins. But my God, there is so many options. I'm gonna blow your guys' mind, and what you do with it is up to you. But in the end, I will give you the meta, or actually, I'll give you the meta right now that I found and was able to achieve the highest numbers from testing. But there's so many options and variables that you can't go wrong, and there's so many also RNGs in the damage potential between, we'll say 1.5 billion to up to, 3.9 billion. But then there's also the steady, 2 billion, 2.5 billion, 2.9 billion steady numbers. So it's really up to you. I'll give you the information. You decide which build you want to chase after. You decide your play style and what you want to do with it. Okay. And there are so many variations out there. I believe I haven't seen it myself, but I'm sure there is. I know FTP, a huge member of the community, does a lot of testing as well. I know he's playing Shockadin. Obviously his testing and his builds is catered more to hardcore for survivability, and I'll give you guys here that option as well. If you want to go for that. But there's so many options. But what I'm going to be showcasing is for softcore and the highest numbers you can potentially reach. And it's all up to you guys what you want to do. Anyways, let's dive right in. So on the action bar, we have Divine Shield for survivability, okay, and mitigation. When you use it, you get a 382,000 damage mitigation shield, which is your whole health. You have Divine Storm, okay, just for initial burst damage on mobs. And then you have Infusion of Righteousness, your number one, buff ability to deal damage. And then you have your Thorn's Fury, which also empowers all your attacks, to deal lightning damage. And then for the gear, I chose for the meta Raven's Claw, all right, because of the huge attack speed, crit rate, crit damage. This allows you to hit huge numbers. It is extremely RNG, and not steady, but once it hits, oh my god, it's crazy. I chose the Harlequin Crest. We did, as you can see, I did test with a lot of other helms, but this helm here is amazing. Then you got the cooldown reduction +3 to all talents. On top of that, you get the magic find. But the 3 talents to this makes it really strong. I chose the Rainbow. It's very cheap, it's realistic, and it yields huge numbers. For its place on how easily it is to acquire it. Meta, in my opinion. But I do have other options here that you can try out, and I'll show you guys together on stream. All right. You have the Mjolnir, which is the meta for the Shockadin. All right. It's a rune word, and the Mjolnir buff, casts chain lightning. Has a chance to cast chain lightning when you attack as well. And since this is a attack speed Shockadin build, it's going to be proccing a lot. For the chest, we chose the Dark Shroud. Again, for the attack speed, the critical rate, critical damage. This allows you to reach huge numbers because of that. Okay, so we're favoring attack speed, crit rate, crit damage. For the shield, the best results that I got, the biggest numbers, was with the Storm Gladiator's Wall. Again, the 40% attack speed. You have some nice damage reduction on there. Okay, you have high lightning damage, flat damage, and the 27% strength is massive. Okay, plus the 4 life per hit gives you huge sustainability as well. That's a lot. That's huge survivability. All right. For the gloves, we chose the Assassin Mitts. Pretty much is the only gloves that I would consider using. I did test with other gloves and wasn't even worth it me showcasing here. But it's not to say that there are, isn't any other good gloves, the starter gloves. And I apologize for not having other options here. So if people watching the video, if they want to leave it in the comments, other potential gloves that could be useful while leveling and while mid game, please put them in the comments below to help the community out. For the belt, I went with the monkey skin belt again. I think this is the meta belt for the season. It's just so strong when you can max it out. You have 15% CDR, 9% damage reduction, plus 3 to all talents. And then you have the double affixes on resistances to cap out your resistances if you need to. It's just really strong. For the ring, the one and only Demon Eye ring because of the plus all to talents, the plus 5% life on hit, the plus 5 mana per hit, which is not really important, but the 5% health on hit combined with the shield, that's almost 10% life per hit when you're attacking. And when it comes to attacks per second on a Shockadin, I don't think there's any other class that can top it right now. With just so much stuff happening with it. Anyways, Bottle of Sake, the meta potion of the season. I really hope the devs next season, do something really cool for the other potions to make them stand out. But as of right now, the crit rate and the crit damage from the Drunken Kung Fu buff is just so dominant across the board. Of course, the white mage, you want to use the wizard potion. So each potion has its place. But when it comes to attack speed and proc-based classes, I believe the Bottle of Sake is just pretty dominant across the board. All right. For the boots, Assassin's Shadow boots. You can see we have other variables here that I'll show you. But the Assassin's Shadow boots, again, for the 10% crit rate, 28% critical damage, is massive. This allows you to hit huge numbers. For your follower, again, which is the ranger, for pushing wormholes, for speed farming XP during Inferno, you want to be using the mercenary. But on wormholes, you want to be using the ranger because, again, like I said, the survivability uptime and debuff uptime on the ranger is a lot more than the mercenary. The mercenary is always on top of you, on top of affixes, keeps getting killed all the time. So in the end, the uptime is a lot more in the ranger. Again, you can do with it what you want. You can put the mercenary on with perdition, rune word, and the Shroud of Elements chest and go with it if that's your preference. But to me and Tig and others in the community, the ranger has the most uptime on debuffs. So on the ranger, you put on Slate because it gives you the Fanatism buff, aura, from the white mage, and this increases your attack speed. Again, it complements the Shockadin. We went with the Helm of the Dominator for the 74% attack speed, which is massive because it allows you to stack the Elemental Break from Shroud of Elements on the targets extremely quick, and that's what you want. All right. For the Relics, this is what we did for the Relics. You would be using the Book of Belial for the 25% flat damage. On the editor, you can't use it, but it would be over here. All right. We'll get into the talents later, but for your hero levels, you want to cap out first as you're leveling Ancient Power. Then you go into crit damage, and then you dump the rest into strength all the way through. For Mercenary on the Ranger, again, as usual, multi-shot to apply the debuffs as quickly as possible. The attack speed, again, to apply it as fast as possible. And piercing shot, so it can go through multiple targets, applying the debuff to multiple targets, therefore yielding more damage. And then you want scatter shot for the shots to rebound across targets. Okay? For the talents, this is what I chose. Also, a huge thanks to Maltalk. We worked well together in Season 10 with the White Mage. And, this time around again, we worked, on the Shockadin Paladin build. And this build is thanks to him. And I did do tests with various, different talents and points. And this yielded the most damage in the end. All right, so put 1 point in each one all the way down. All right, and then you want to max out Infusion of Righteousness because of the huge attack speed and damage, 75% attack speed and damage on lightning damage. And then we maxed out the shields, okay? And then we maxed out blessed shields. This right here is almost 2 million damage, free damage proc. And then when you increase the shield to 102% damage, it just makes him orbit faster and deal 102% more damage. This is free damage. It's just all passives. You can't not take this. All right. And then we went with the 13 points in Thor's Fury. All right. The reason why it's a 12-second or 11.5-second cooldown, so you don't want to put, max this out. It won't yield more damage in the long run. And then we cap out life overflowing. This is 18% more damage. Okay. I think in the end, anyways, it's 18% more damage. It's got so many thoughts in my head. We did some more testing between this and some other skills, and then in the end, it was like a 3% difference in damage, and this was 4%. So it's like 1% difference. But we went with this for more damage. Then you have the free proc on Warrior of Light, which increases your damage by 5.8% when it procs, and it will. And then I went with Divine Shield. Maltalk on his build, instead of using Divine Shield, he uses Consecrated Teleport, and using this skill on the dummy will yield more damage. But in theory and in practice, in the wormholes, from what I tested, in a map running, this ability just throws your character across the screen, and it's really unreliable. In wormholes, you can position yourself against a wall, a tree, a object. You can be in a hole if you have flying, of course, or in the water, and you can cast it, and you will stay stationary in that location, allowing you to somewhat control it. But it's not really realistic from what I tested. But in the end, math for math, yes, it will deal more damage. But in play style, I don't like my character being flung across the screen, and the animation that it also, takes to leap across the screen and throw you in a random direction, to me is just a huge damage loss, and you don't have control of your character. But you have the information. If you do tests on the dummy, which is stationary, this will yield more damage. Out in the real world, and for survivability, I think this is a better setup. But you have the information, do with it what you want. Okay? So this test here is with the Mjolnir in Gladiator's Wall Shield. Clearing the 500. Okay? You can see the timer left up there. It's halfway, half the timer in the wormhole. And then we'll spawn the boss and kill him. Before I engage the boss, every time I'm doing a wormhole, if I'm pushing, if it's late wormhole, I always res the pet. Because the 50% elemental break from Shroud of Elements is just so strong. And, it'll cut your fight down. It'll cut a lot of time off the fight if you have that debuff on the mob, on the boss. So you can see right there, he already has the 50% elemental break on him, even though the pet died. He's going to stack it on here again immediately. And then even though he died, I'm going to finish him right now with the debuff. Boom. So it's pretty strong. And that's it. So before I show you some tests, I want to show you guys how to min-max your gear. How to reach attack speed breakpoints. What is AS attack speed? What are the breakpoints? What's going on here? So the answer to that question is, when you look at your character sheet, I'm at 6.62 attack speeds per second. It means I'm doing 6.5 attacks per second. To reach the breakpoint, it has to be a flat number. So when I pop my infusion of righteousness for the added attack speed, I go to 852. So I'm at 8.5 attacks per second. Technically 8 attacks per second. So to reach the breakpoint of 9, I need to put in more Dow runes in my gear. I want to reach 9 because I'm so close. I'm halfway there. If I was at like 805, 810, I wouldn't do that, because sacrificing too many slots for attack speed in the end is going to yield less damage. The more elemental flat damage runes you have, the more damage you deal. But if you're close to an attack speed breakpoint as you're leveling mid-game and end-game, then go for it, right? So in my case, I'm almost there which means I only need 50 attack speed to reach it. But what you get from the Dow runes is actually a little bit more. So I'm going to replace the runes on my chest from the Jex, the lightning runes. I'm going to unequip it. Press J to clear sockets. I'll put back on the chest, go to sockets, and I'm going to put on Dow runes right here for attack speed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, so I put in the 6 Dow runes. So now my attack went from 662 to 697. But what happens is when you pop Infusion of Righteousness, it's 75% times your base attack speed. So before it was 662 and I was at 852 attack speed. But now 75% times 6.97 brings you to 903. So you actually get more. So in essence, right, I was 852 attack speed. I should have gone to 882, but because it's 75% times that value, I went up to 903. Okay, so when you're doing your breakpoints and you're messing around with it, just remember that. Yes, when you put in the Dow runes, it's a flat number. It's 5% across the board. Okay, but if you have any abilities or spells that amplify that attack speed based off a percentage, you're going to get more benefit from that attack speed times your base value. So just remember that when you're min-maxing your gear, and hopefully that helps you guys. Alright, I'm going to leave you guys with a series of tests. I can't tell you how many of these I did. The range on damage with the Shockadin is pretty massive. You know, you can like do a 1.5 billion all the way up to 3.9 billion. You know, but the bottom line is it's still very good damage. This test here is with the build that I consider meta, because it's a lot of damage. The range can get really high, and you're really tanky with a one-hander and shield. For the most part, it's consistent as well, from what I tested. But you can see the numbers there, and I put a little graph at the top showing you the damage numbers and range, the highest it reached, and sort of the average from my many hours of testing. Okay, and then this clip here is the 3.9 billion that you can see. And remember, this is all hero level 200 maxed out gear for relics. Obviously, as you get higher hero levels, you'll hit higher numbers as well. Okay, this next setup here that I want to show you guys, this is a variant with the Genji helm and also the Genji sword. This setup also, the damage in my opinion for this setup is pretty consistent. It's really good damage. You can see I'm at 1.5 billion to 2.9. Highest number I reached was 2.9 billion. Average I want to say is 2.4. The issue with this set later on in wormholes though, in my opinion, you're going to struggle to survive because you don't have a shield for the extra damage mitigation and block or dodge. So you're going to struggle. But when it comes to consistency and farming, Inferno 5 and speed farming, this is a really good variant that you can use. Alright, so you can look for this as well. And now for the last one here that I'm going to showcase, this came from Maltalk, and it's a really strong build as well. It's a variant he put together. It does a lot of good damage. You can see it's 1.9 to 3 billion. The highest number reached I got was 3 billion. Average I want to say is 2.5. The benefit of this build is if you're playing hardcore or even softcore and you're having a hard time surviving, this build here will give you insane survivability. All in all, the dodge I think is like 104% dodge chance with this set. So if you want to go for this set for survivability, you can definitely go with it. The Belt of Skulls also has the satanic dice rolls when you kill mobs. It also gives you a huge damage boost while using it as well. This is the meta setup build doing Uber Damian, and you can see how fast he goes down. Any of the set variants and builds I've listed here all can destroy anything on Inferno 5 in any of the wormholes. And as you get later in wormholes, it's really up to you and what you want to do. I recommend the other one first because it's more damage, you know, high damage range. But it's really up to you guys. The bottom line is, Shockadin Paladin has so many options, so many build variables that you guys can do anything you want to do with it. This video took me about 6 hours to make, and when I went to go clip it and make it, it prompted me to do even more tests for you guys. That's just what the Shockadin class does, which is the reason why I haven't released anything for it until now. But anyways, with that being said, please don't forget to comment, like, smash that subscribe button. Visit me on Twitch, follow me there. The support is overwhelming. I appreciate it, guys. Until next time, roll deep. Woo!